Salutations! Welcome to the conversation. I am your host, the Queen of Shade, and I would like to formally, cordially, gleefully, and joyfully welcome you to One-on-One with the Queen of Shade Season 2. There are going to be a lot of surprises in this season. You're going to see a lot of familiar faces that have been here before, and some new ones. And it's going to be an amazing journey of discovery. Remember, these are not interviews. These are interviews. Let us see what your soul looks like. So pull up a chair and don't forget to comment, like, share, and most of all, subscribe. To follow the show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Queen of Shade, and you can follow the show there. There's also a podcast version of the show, but that hasn't come all the way out yet. I did a soft launch, but that will be coming out too. Season 1 was absolutely crazy. There are 253 episodes of Season 1. Yes, I was running off of pure adrenaline, pure spirit, pure excitement, and we got that done. So you can expect Season 2 to be just as magnanimous and crazy and explosive. There will be some great conversations that you will be able to take things away from and apply to your natural life. 253 episodes. Let's see what we do for Season 2. I love all of you and thank you for supporting, watching, commenting, liking, sharing, because baby, we're on this journey together. We're not on here alone. I'm not on here alone. My guests are not on here alone. You're right along with us. So once again, welcome to the conversation. Now let's get to the conversation.
You fall. The Queen of Shade.
I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. I'm gonna get you, boy. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. I'm gonna get you, boy. Mister, how's your wife and kids? Do they know you like to handle this? I say, mister, why punish your son? 'Cause his daddy likes my kind of fun. And at night you always call my phone. You're always asking if I'm all alone. And when I tell you that I need your love, you come running just to feel me up.
Joshua J Holland. Salutations, Queen of Shade here, coming to you with a very special presentation. Getting to talk to people from all over the world has always been an amazing opportunity for me. I'm in Season 2 of One-on-One with the Queen of Shade, and we're uber excited about who we're bringing to our platform to have a chat. These are interviews, not interviews. We're not really prying. We're just having a conversation, a meeting of the minds. Having said that, I am so very excited to bring to you our guest today. I met this man, I want to say 2003, 2004. And then I met him in person, and then it was just so amazing. And I followed his career, I followed his life, and he's so interesting. So, very interesting. So we're going to sit and we're going to chat with him today. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Joshua J Holland.
Yeah, I like the long applause.
Yeah, yeah, it's long.
Good. This is giving us our flowers, as they
Yes.
say.
How the heck are you, mister?
I'm very well. Yeah, it's nice to finally be on the show. I know I've seen you. You've been doing your thing all this time for as long as I've known you, and so to finally be able to be on here with you is fun and exciting. I'm interested to see where we take this because I know we can go very deep. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
And we're very happy to have you. I
Thank you.
remember meeting you. And the thing was, it was MySpace first, and it was Model Mayhem second, and
Yep.
so we were all in the game trying to, aspiring to become fashion models, and it was so difficult. You had just graduated college, and you were in New York City, and you were working, and we were shooting with photographers and fellow photographers. I'll get to that in a second because I have bad news about one of them. You probably already know,
Yep.
but yeah, we were working, and then we just kind of all like went off in our own directions. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the things that naturally happens with friendships, especially in a city like New York City that's very transient, and everyone seems to be kind of doing their thing. So I think it's only natural. Someone as much of a go getter as you are, and likewise myself, it makes sense that we went off to kind of grow, right? I don't look at it as we left out of each other's lives, but we just evolved into more of life, and so here we are. And after all these years, to see you're still doing your thing, and to know that I'm still doing my thing, it's truly a blessing.
But you know what? You bring up very, very, very specific points. It is a blessing because most of the people that we were around no longer,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And honestly, like, it was so crazy because even in my career, Josh, I had to learn to be flexible. I had to learn to be flexible. See, it was always, I remember one time I wrote on Model Mayhem, and I was kind of like listing, like it was an outline of like all the things I wanted to do. And I put it up there, and I'll never forget, you saw it and you were like, you are very ambitious.
yeah,
The first thing you said, you were like, you are very ambitious. And I was young then, 21,
yep.
22. And it's so funny to see that list get just ticked away, ticked away, ticked away, ticked away. To stick with something that long. As a whole, I've been in the entertainment industry under the radar for 21 years. It's been a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, I just celebrated my 42nd birthday. Right? Yeah, it's been a long time, but what I like about, like you said, when we go off and we do our own things and we evolve, we have things that we need as far as guidelines, morals, boundaries, and that was a big thing for me. What caused me to kind of trail off and look to other places other than New York City, because I'm from Philadelphia, so I used to always make my way up there. But what kind of caused me to kind of trail off that way was that, New York, they saw me and they kept saying to me, and I know now, we'll talk about it now. I know now why they said what they said, but like they kept saying to me, oh, you're not what we're looking for, or, oh, you have a beautiful image, I almost said image, but you have a beautiful, yeah, yeah. You have a beautiful image and things like that. And I will never forget. See, that's the power of the internet, because we all did keep in touch. Like, we can definitely get to each other when we need to, like, i.e., as I got to you here, and said, hey, come do this. So we all can keep in touch. But like, literally, I remember being in New York, and I remember going to see a creative director at Boss Model Management. And like literally no one knew that I was even going to go to that casting. And he said to me something that changed my life. He was like, listen, you have the look, but you'll never work in New York City. That was something I had never heard before. Like I had never heard that. So, and I mean, he pulled me out of a line of beautiful Black and Latin models that I felt were way more model-esque and model-ski. You know, I'm using fashion terms now. Way more model ski than what I thought I was. And no, he pulled me out of line and he said to me, he was like, listen, you have an amazing look. He was like, you can do this, but you won't do it here. And I was,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. And I was like looking at him because, and this is the thing, that was a glass building. So everybody's behind me. He brought me to the desk. Everybody's standing in line. They can hear what he's saying to me. And I'm just like, oh God. But he really, it was help without being help. I can talk to you like this because you know about fashion, grind, and the trying to make it happen. And, you know, I know now looking in hindsight that basically I wasn't what they were looking for because I didn't have the money to fund my own career back then. And we are small businesses. And what people don't understand about models is that the agency and the agency doesn't pay for everything. You have to come in with your own capital, and you have to pay for all the photographers, you have to pay for the flights, you have to do all of those things, the 40 hours a week of casting, your responsibility. I didn't know all of that. I was quick to the learn, quick to the draw. But he pulled me out of line and he set me down and he said, listen, you need to go to France. He said, you'll work in France. And honestly, after that, like literally from that time, that was '04 going into '05, I no longer looked at New York City. I think I returned 2004. I returned to New York City for the first time in 2018.
Really?
After that, I no longer, because he literally like shaped the trajectory of my life. So, you know me, I'm crazy. Ambitious. We'll just say that. I almost said crazy. Right. Ambitious. Let's just say it like that. I'm extremely driven. So next thing you know, I went home. My friends from high school booked me a ticket. I was on my way to France.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, it's stories like that in which I'm happy you share that, and maybe your listeners and viewers, maybe they already know all of this about you, but it's nice for those who don't know this about you because it's an example of what's possible as long as you think it's possible.
It was hard.
Right. And it took someone nudging you to even see it, but then you had to carry that, right? Because you could have gone back home and crawled into your shell. You could have never come back out again, or you could have gone into a different path.
Action, yeah.
But you know, you decided to give it a shot. So and here you are now. You know?
Yeah, and that's what's so crazy because even and what's so crazy, Josh, is when I got to Paris, it was so crazy. I was 22, and it was August the 5th, 2005. I'll never forget it. They were, when I got off the plane, like from immediately, it was like I'd never been in a place where I felt seen. I didn't feel seen in New York City. I didn't feel seen. You know, and then like, I mean, immediately going through customs, coming through Charles de Gaulle, like literally it was like, And my friend, like, cause my friend picked me up from the airport and he was like, you don't speak French, do you? And I'm like, no, and I need to learn. He's like, they're talking about you. And I'm like, well, what are they saying? And he's like, they're trying to decide if you're a man or a woman. He was like, they say that you're beautiful and tall and model-esque, but they're trying to figure out if you're a man or a woman. And I smiled and grabbed my bags and kept going. And that was literally my it in Paris. It was that constant androgyny. I got to meet so many people, work with so many amazing photographers. I really started to realize a dream that I did not have in the States. And that was the craziest thing because, you know, I like talking about this because you were in it with me. We talked about this. There's a point where I remember there was a model maker who was very famous for, you know, placing models with agencies. And I remember when I rejected him on something and he wrote me like a nasty, nasty email. And I remember forwarding it to you. And he has since come past me and apologized. He has since said, please don't mention my name for saying that I was against you.
Mm.
You never know what people are going to become. But that, I love that because talking to you today, it beautifully teleports me back to that time.
Mm.
Because like that was a beautiful thing. The rest of it is history. But here we are. I do remember in what was that, 2008? I believe my friend came from France and we got to meet you. You were playing basketball.
I do remember
I
that at the
remember,
park, right?
yes, at the park. And I'll never forget that. That was his
Dykeman. I think it
first
was
time.
Dykeman.
Yeah, it was the first time he had been in power, like in New York or in the United States since he was 14, and
Mm.
he was in his 50s then. So think about that. Yeah, he was in his 50s then, and it was the first time
Wow.
he had been back to the States because I stayed with him there. He was one of his friends was transitioning, and I do mean like in hospice because he had the HIV virus and it was transitioning into AIDS, and he had come to basically say goodbye to his friend, but he also came to say hello to me. So
Wow.
I was able to walk him through that on American soil the same way he had been there for me. He kept me in Paris 6 months and he took care of me and it was a beautiful thing. But we got to see you and I'll never forget. I knew you were athletic, but getting to see that athletic, that was a treat. He took pictures. He took some pictures and I remember you said like I kept some of these. These were really good. Yeah, like sportsman pictures. Like it was really
Yeah.
to see like that was the thing like I was so afraid of New York but I was happy to be there. I was happy to see people there and you were one of them. I will never forget. And it's kind of crazy because for our conversation today I went back to that time to find photos of you that I still have.
Oh, I was wondering if you did,
Yep, I still
especially the basketball ones,
yeah,
right? Like,
the basketball ones, I have to look for them. I had
okay.
them because he gave me a copy, but I have to find them. But I have the ones that you took more professionally,
Mm-hmm.
and I to this day, I will never stop saying that your face was your money. Your
Mm.
face was what in fashion definitely you still to this day you have a face that is multiracial. I'll say it like that. Multiracial. It can be ambiguous, racially ambiguous.
Yeah.
And in fashion, that's what you need to be. It's
Mm.
so funny because I'm a brown boy, but you can slap any color, you can slap any like it works, bone structure. And it's the same thing with
Yeah.
you, bone structure. So it's just like I'm saying that
Yeah.
I just wanted to lay the
Thank
foundation
you.
of how we knew each other, and that it's been that long and then bring us into present day. But, it was an honor to get to know you then and to know you now. We kept in touch. Like that's the craziest thing because there were so many guys that I felt I was closer to that we just lost touch.
Right. And sometimes we never know, right? We never know how or why. Sometimes it doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
But some of the things I remember distinctly from that time period, and keep in mind, like, I know you know this, but most of the people watching
that's
probably
right.
don't know this, but
Give us some
I'm from
context.
I'm from Oklahoma, which is the middle of America. It's even to this day. I mean, I love where I'm from. I'm happy that I have my background, but it's not without its faults. That's for sure, right? It's still somewhat a racist overtones or undertones to Oklahoma. A lot of it, and then growing up, I really didn't have any experience with Jewish people. I didn't have any experience with gays. I didn't have any experience of any of that. So when I first stepped foot in New York City, I just was like, "Whoa! There's so much. There's so much here in New York City." And like the first two agencies that I signed with was in the heart of Chelsea, 23rd and 7th, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the heart of Chelsea. So for me, walking around New York City, I'm thinking I'm like hot stuff, like going into these castings, and then I see beautiful women, beautiful guys, and like at that time, it seemed like all they wanted to do was they just wanted me to get my clothes off, right? And so I'm learning all these things as we go, and I started to adjust, and I realized that like, look, at the end of the day, just because I wasn't exposed to it, I now have the opportunity to be exposed to it, and it opened up my world. And I think that was around the time when I met you, and I'll never forget we were having a conversation, and also keep in mind this was well before major social media. This
Yep.
was well before like cell phones. So
Yep.
even being able to communicate is kind of. I'm just thinking back to it, like how do we communicate? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I remember one of the first times you told me what your, I guess it was your side hustle was,
Yes.
and I was like, wait, what? Wait, wait,
Which
you
one? The female phone
the
sex
phone,
one?
the phone, the
Yes.
phone.
Okay, you remember.
And I was like, wait, but how does that work? Like, what? And I remember asking you, like, can you give me an example? And you did. And I was like, yo. So that's what I mean. Obviously, I remember many other things too, because I know we worked with some of the same photographers, and you were always really helpful with your advice and your encouragement and things like that. And and I thought, if nothing else, like there's someone else that I can connect with who understands, right? Who understands being a minority, who understands like, not necessarily being accepted, right? Because I was the guy from Oklahoma that was the country boy who still talked with a twang, right? And was wearing cowboy boots, right? That was me. And then here we are now, we both have morphed into more of what we want to be, and I think are super proud of who we are and where we've come from. So,
Yes,
yeah.
extremely, extremely proud. And you're right. You signed, get this, look at this. One of your agencies was Silver Model Management.
Yep.
I remember them calling their name because I remember they did a lot of fitness modeling back
Mm-hmm.
then. But I remember going to see him at that time. It was a black guy when I went to see.
Mm.
He passed, and someone else took over because, like, literally, that's what they don't understand. Like it being minority, we saw every agency in that freaking city. Like,
Yep.
you went to anybody trying to get your foot in the door. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember my friends and I went to Silver, and I remember he wanted to take test shots. So he said, just do what you do naturally. So I'm posing, I'm doing what I do, I'm breaking my body, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And my friends are just standing there, like in front of the camera. Me, I'm actually trying to show him that I've studied this, I know what I'm doing. I do this at night, I practice, and I'm this and I'm that. You don't get to be 42 years old and still look like that,
That's
without
right.
practicing, So, but I'll never forget what he said to me because he said, you do what our female models do naturally. He said, you can even teach them. He said, because what you naturally do with your body is what our women are taught to do. Like I at that time, I didn't know what he meant. I didn't know that it was more than just modeling. Like, I didn't know, like, for me, working 2 jobs at home, being homeless, mind you. Yeah, being homeless at that time, no one knew because I didn't carry myself that way, but I had been put out of my house for being gay. Yeah, so I was
I
couch
didn't know
surfing.
that.
Exactly. See, Josh? I was couch surfing. So I had more of a passion. That's why I said it, because I had more of a passion to get the thing done. Like, that was the thing. Like, it was like, I don't know if I told you, but I came out of college because I had to be medically withdrawn. Did I tell you about that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so
No.
listen, what got me into fashion in the first place, entertainment in the first place, was I was a biology major at Clarion University of Pennsylvania. What happened was I did a year and a half there, and then I didn't know that bipolar disorder was hereditary. And I was under a lot of stress because I came from the suburbs. So I know when you talk about not really belonging or trying to find your place, because I came from the suburbs, there were black kids there, but we all had the same mentality, and it was a few of us. It wasn't a whole lot of us. So I went to a state school because I wanted the tax break, the tuition break. I wanted that, but I also knew that there would be more of an African American presence there. That was something that
Mm.
I was seeking and that I was yearning for. But when I got to the state school, speaking like this, behaving like this, I was bullied and ridiculed and assaulted a lot. And I did not know that I was bipolar at that time, but the undue stress of not fitting in and the bullying did something what we call trigger. So
Mm-hmm.
it triggered, my mania, and I was manic. When I got sick, I would be sick for months. I was manic for 5 months on that university campus before they even realized that I was, before they put me on suicide watch, and before they called my parents to come get me. Yeah. So
Wow.
I had all of that happen, and I'm
That was before I met you.
yeah, this was right before you met me. Right
Wow.
before you met me. Yeah, I had to figure out what I was going to do. But I say all of that because I too know what it was like to not fit in anywhere. And I was trying, and all my life it was, oh, your voice is so high. Oh, your body, it's so feminine, and this and that. So I was on my way. But even in Paris, I didn't take the final step that would have ensured my success because I couldn't put on a wig. They said to me, you need
Mm.
to be doing the women's shows. Here I am in France. I came to do it. I have no way home, so I better do it and do it right because it was a one-way ticket. And literally, they were like, you got to put this on. And I looked at them, and then all of a sudden, all that indoctrination, all of my parents' rules, all of that religion, I was like, I can't do that. And they were like, are you kidding? Like, you came from America to do this. This is fashion. You have it. And back then, I had no therapy, no medication. I wasn't doing any of those things. So that triggered me as well. And I had to be flown home by the U.S. Embassy after I spent 4 months, 3 months in a hospital there. Yeah. Right after,
What?
right after I met you, and we went our separate ways. I spent several months in Cabrini before they closed it. Hospital. I had something I couldn't get rid of. I had bipolar type 1, which is a lot of mania, which now is a superpower to me because my energy is always up. I don't have a lot of the low depression, but I'm always up, like always. Yeah, that's where the energy came from. But then I have PTSD because of my childhood. My mother and my father didn't raise me. Then I also have something called acute anxiety disorder. So in situations where I feel stressed or in situations where it's not going well, because one thing about me is I didn't know then, but I have a lot of spiritual gifts to me. So being extremely empathic is an understatement for me. I can pick up on all the energy everywhere. Like I don't even have to be in a room with you. I can look at you over a phone screen and pick up your energy. And I didn't know how to support that or block that or keep a filter up. But yeah, I was going to hospital to hospital to hospital and then popping back out and then showing up at those castings. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that, it doesn't make me cry. It makes me feel triumphant. But that's when people like, I was one of those people, and you said it earlier, I was one of those people that was a go-getter. I was not going to be denied. I was not. I was
Facts.
not. So literally, in between all those castings, in between the photo shoots and stuff like that, I was in the hospital and working a full-time job. Yeah, and taking care of my baby brother who's 4 years younger than me. Yeah.
There or here?
In Philadelphia. Here. Yeah, here. It
Wow.
was, yeah, but when I left for France, that also was a problem too because I was working myself to death. And my
Hmm.
friend, he was like, why do you do this? You Americans. He was like, you have to work to live, not live to work. And that was my thing because I was spazzing on his floor in his living room every night. I was like having these panic attacks. Like I gotta get to this person. I gotta get to that person. And I did eventually get to them. But when I got to them, I was so emotionally spent that the bottom just came out. So it was so crazy because my baby brother was back here in the States with people that weren't family, that weren't treating him like family. It was a lot. Coming from the background that I came from, it was a lot. And you would have never thought that would have been my background because my grandmother is a master's degree holding teacher. And she raised me for the majority of my life, but my uncles and aunts also stepped in. But my grandmother's the only one with that college degree. Yeah, she's
Wow.
the only one. So she was, like I said, a teacher, master's degree. So she, a lot of the times, breadwinner, but gone from the house. So we had to deal with people that were only 8 years older than me, 13 years older than me. So very much still kids themselves. And, kids get frustrated when a younger kid, you know, and then it starts the bullying and the banter and all of that. And, what's so crazy about when I reminisce on the whole thing, I find it quite odd because all of my aunts and my uncles were gay and lesbian on my mother's side. Every single a child that my grandmother birthed, with exception to my mother being bisexual, were gay and lesbian. And the thing is, I would have thought that
Right.
environment would have fostered, oh, we know what you are. We know exactly what to do with you. But they were more so on the Lord, please forgive me. I'm sorry. I'm not right. Take it away. I was more so on the this is who I am. God doesn't make mistakes. So it just kind of, even to this day.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very deep.
Go ahead if you want to say something there, like, because.
Wow. No, well, that's the first thing I thought of is when you were saying that everyone on your
Yep.
grandmother's side
Yep.
was gay or lesbian,
Yep.
and your mom
Was by.
was bi.
Yep.
But yet, I remember earlier in the conversation you were saying that it was your family and the religion is what drove you away.
Yep. Because they were very much so, Lord, I don't want to be gay. I'm going to live this way. I'm going to pray it away. I'm reborn. They did all of that. I was like, when I came of age, I was like, oh, I'm gay. Oh, and God wants me to be this way, mind you. And they were like, oh, yeah, bye-bye. Yeah. Many of the castings I did in New York City, I was homeless. But my thing is, I love this because it is the inspiration that our viewers need to hear and see.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
and I get to do this with someone who knew me, and you're like, oh my God, I had no idea that was going on at that time.
No
Yeah,
idea.
there was
No
a
idea.
lot. There was a lot going on, but this is a reason, and you know what's so crazy? This was a reason I drew to you because it was your face one, but you had wholesome values. You had wholesome values. Not so much that I wanted to be those things, but if you surround yourself with stable people, you'll eventually learn how to be stable. And I knew that. So that was the main point. Like that was the main point. Like it was like I have to surround myself with upwardly mobile people. You had graduated college by that time. You were doing your thing. Like you were really doing your thing in New York. And from Oklahoma, and you were able to stay in New York. And it might have been tough, because I remember the catering jobs. I remember all of
Yep.
that. I'm gonna
Yep.
call a name from your past. I'm not gonna say his last name, but I remember Jaron. I remember a lot of, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Listen, you're part of my story, Josh.
He had to move back.
Yeah, I remember. I
Yeah.
remember after I had given him advice and said go to South Africa. He went. He
Yeah, he
went
did.
for a
He
while.
did.
He did, and he thanked me when he came back. He thanked me. I had been doing that, but no one knows that while I was sitting, like when I was kind of homeless at that time, not really, sleeping on a couch, but my grandmother still was kind of constant. So I would go to her classroom to use her computer. So that's where I was talking to you guys from. It was the dial up back then. It was dial up AOL. So I would go to her computer and talk to you guys that way. But yeah, he thanked me. But I used to sit there on that computer and scour the world. I used to email agencies all over the world. And I had hundreds of them. And literally, I would get yeses, but then it became a thing of how are you going to get the money to get there?
Facts.
That
Facts.
was it. That was it.
Catch 22.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was even accepted to an agency in South Africa. But they were like, you have to come in October. That's when our season starts. I'll never forget that. Wow, that just came out of nowhere. But yeah, they were like, you have to come in October. That's when our season starts. And I was like, but I have no money. They said, listen, if you can get here, we'll do the rest. I couldn't get there. I couldn't get there.
I tell you one thing that might have been for the best because
Yeah.
I remember distinctly having an opportunity to go to South Africa with Boss as well,
Yeah.
and it was not long after I wasn't able to go either. So similar to you, like I wasn't able to. I think I would have had to pay for something or whatever, and I hadn't done any work for them
Yeah.
because so they couldn't pull from any of the money that would have been coming in, right?
Yeah.
So I would have had to pay for it out of my pocket.
Yeah.
But it was like a few months after that that something happened with Boss. It got shut down because apparently, yeah, they had some crazy stuff going on over there, and we may have been a part of that. You know what I mean? So
Dodged a bullet.
we dodged a bullet.
Both
Yeah.
dodged a bullet. We both dodged a bullet. Yes. And you know, it's so great to be able to do this because literally I didn't know what I was going to do. And I remember in 2007, I remember we exchanged numbers at by that time. And I remember I called you and I said, listen to this. And I was walking up the steps of my apartment at that time and I started singing. And I remember when you were like, that's you? You wrote, you wrote that? I'm like, yeah, I did. And you were like, wow, okay, all right.
I
You
remember. I
know?
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and literally, that was my end, Joshua. That was my end. I became a phone sex agent shortly after that, got my own place for the first time in my life, and literally sat on my computer singing for YouTube. That was literally what changed the trajectory of my life
Mm-hmm.
because here I am, here I go. Content. I've always been the content man. I've always been, I'm going to create content. So I was singing, I had something like 2,000 something covers on YouTube. I just wouldn't stop. I was singing everything. And my first producer from out of states, like he was out of the states, he lived like New Zealand, I believe it was. He found me there and he was like, I'm going to listen to all 2000 something something of your videos to get a feel for your voice. And he did. And we began to work together. And that's why I tell people, like, do not underestimate the power of this box sitting in front of you because it launched my entire career. I sit here today because of this box.
Mm.
Literally, like I would send him things because when I write with melody as well, so the whole thing comes out. He just has to kind of like braille follow me, and he was like, "Oh, you're good," and I'm just like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're real good," and then I started doing that, started making my own music, and I'll never forget. I came here because I helped to take care of my grandmother, but she also helps to take care of me. She's retired now. She just turned 77. I came here in 2009, and I remember having those songs that I did with him. I was just telling this to my nephew today. If I hadn't, some people say, "Oh, well, there were mistakes. If I had to make those mistakes," I'm like, "No, there are no mistakes. You do what you're supposed to do. You go the way you're supposed to go until you know that that's not the way to go anymore." I
Mm-hmm.
was just telling him the day I had 3 songs that I had recorded on my own, and if I hadn't had those 3 songs to be able to show my grandmother that I had been doing work, I'd have never got funded the way that I did. Like I got funded, my career got funded. She handed me her entire 6-figure retirement and said, "Start your company." And that's what I did. Yeah. So that ambition that I had, and get this, I never saw that coming because I have younger siblings. So all that while all the fire and music is going on in my life and all the turmoil and all the tribulations are going on, my other siblings are growing up and leaving the nest. So by the time that was done, my grandmother had no one else she had to take care of. So she could focus on me. And that's what happened. That's how I got it. She was able to focus on me. She was able to say, you know what, you have something special. And my grandmother has been my partner since 2009. She's a silent partner, but she's still very influential and in all of my decisions. And I set about the business of learning my business. I set about the business of creating it and business plans and all of that. And the funny thing is I did that all on my own. No college degree.
Mm.
No college degree.
It tells me, and it should tell everyone else, that anything is possible. And I know people hate hearing that. Some people actually love hearing that. I think people who know what it truly means to like to work through that phrase people like us, we hear that and we smile and we understand it. But then I think the people who don't like hearing that are the people who just it just doesn't land for them because maybe they never really had to work that hard, or they never wanted to work that hard and would never know what the true possibilities of their lives are. And so that's basically in a nutshell what I try to do as well. I know you have that within you, is you like to encourage people and motivate people to live out their dreams and to be the best version of themselves. And I do that as well in a different way, right? But it doesn't really matter. It's at the end of the day is like, are we creating a community in which everyone is trying to develop themselves from with a growth mindset, like a personal development mindset? It's we can always better ourselves. And if it doesn't work, then I think we kind of naturally gravitate away from certain people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's community is everything. And I loved how you talked about creating your own as well, because I know I've seen some of your content that you've put out, and I remember there for a while, like you could have easily, I think some people would think you could have easily been signed by a big label, but a lot of people don't realize the cost of that. You sell your soul and make nothing, right? Or you make pennies, and they all get rich. Whereas now you have control over everything you do. I mean, I in fact, even doing this show, I loved the fact that before we even started to record, you had already sent out a talent agreement form, right? Like you are on your business shit. I like that. You know, I really, really like that. And so it's like, I say all this to say, I would love to see more of our people taking ownership and being accountable for the things they can do and worry less about the things that they cannot do.
Yeah, I had a major label that shall not be named because they real big. I had a major label try to sign me, and literally my A&R, because I came from a time, you know, it was that long ago. I had A&Rs. I called him up after I did this like summit about like self-identity and self-actualization and realization, and I called him from that seminar, and I said, listen, I don't want to go forward. He said, what do you mean? I said, I think I want to start small where I can control it and kind of sing in coffee shops. And he cursed me out. He said, you mean to tell me you want to sing in fucking coffee shops, but we want to make sure millions of people around the world hear your vocals, hear your music, and that to you is the way to go? And I said, yes. He said, you're a fool. He hung up on me. And I went my way. But Josh, I'll never forget that feeling that I felt as I slumped down to the wall. I had no more hooks in me. I had no more hooks in me. So whatever I did or didn't do, it was on my terms.
It's on you.
I have albums out, but that's not the point. So get this. That was what happened to me. So because I know what you do, but I want you to kind of talk about it. So what drew you away? Because my thing is we all kind of went our own ways, and we all kind of went away from New York for a while. Where did you go and what drew you? Because I know, but I want you to now tell us what you do. What drew you away?
Well, you know, during the time period that we were first, you know, introduced to each other, I was in the midst of discovering myself and what I was going to do in New York. And like New York was never really like on my radar. But when I got here, I thought, okay, I keep hearing people say, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. So I like a challenge, right? So I'm like, all right, let's do this. And so like you pointed out earlier, I was doing everything from dancing at bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs. I was doing catering gigs. I was doing acting on the side. I was trying to do vocal lessons. I was doing modeling. I was playing basketball, and it was just like all of these things happening, and I was just trying to make ends meet. And I realized that instead of worrying about where the next check is going to come from, which is, I think I spent way too much time focusing on that rather than allowing my creativity to really flourish. I did stick it out, right? But like I said earlier, it was really, really close. I remember there was one point in time I thought to myself, I think I had about $300 left in the bank, right? Mind you, I didn't move to New York with a whole bunch of money. Like I was able to sell all of the things in my apartment in Oklahoma City, and I probably came to New York with around $3,000, which back then the early 2000s.
Yeah.
It was okay. I didn't think I was going to be here for 20 years like I have been now, but I kind of thought, hey, let me be in New York for a couple of months, see if I can get some work, and then let's reevaluate. And I'm still here, right? But I think the real shift for me was there was a point in time when basketball started taking off because I was a late bloomer. And what I mean by that is throughout high school and college, I was good. I was a really good athlete, but I wasn't at the peak of my development. I had some injuries, and I kind of thought when I graduated college, I thought, well, I guess my basketball days are over in terms of wanting to go professional. So when I stopped worrying about it because I graduated, and since there was no professional teams knocking on my door, I thought, okay, now I can just play for fun. That's when I started to bloom.
Yeah.
That was when I moved to New York. So I think that's a real important lesson for some people to hear, which is I wasn't worried anymore about looking good for a coach or being the best player for a team. I just was just playing basketball because I enjoyed it. And for the first time in my life, I remember really enjoying it, right? And I remember being at back then it was the Reebok Sports Club. It's now Equinox Sports Club, right? But back then it was the Reebok Sports Club, and my manager, his name is Earl. He was basically like, look, if you want to get somewhere, if you want to get noticed in New York City, you need to have some kind of presence at that gym, because at that gym, kind of everybody goes to that gym. And so I was like, okay. I was able to fortunately afford a membership, but it was basically the last of my money.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, I got to make this work. I need to make something work out of this. And next thing you know, I started booking fitness modeling jobs. I started, meeting different people. And this lady comes up to me one day, and sort of out of the blue. And she was kind of cute. So I had seen her out of the corner of my eye, but I wasn't thinking that much of it because when I'm on the court, I'm about business, right? So she waits till I finish a game, and she comes up to me and says, hey, she introduces herself. I forget her name off the top of my head, but she was like, I know you don't know me, but I've been kind of watching you, and not in a creepy way, but I've been watching you over the last couple of months, and you have something really special. A friend of mine is the general manager for this fitness entity, and they're looking for trainers. And I obviously know that you're very athletic, and I've seen you in some of the magazines and stuff. So I know you're very fit. I would imagine you know how to dance a little bit. So if you could go and maybe meet with them, you might have an opportunity if you're looking for it. Come to find out, that was for a well-known fitness celebrity fitness trainer. And I was like, okay. I go. I didn't know what an audition for like a fitness trainer job would look like. I'm thinking I go. I get my tank top and get me some gloves and show them how to do a squat and some push-ups. Nah, it wasn't any of that. I show up. I see a bunch of Broadway dancers and literal dancers, and then a couple of trainers. And they're like, all right, everybody introduce yourselves, tell us your background, where you're from. Like all of the bulk of the people were from like, oh yeah, I was on off Broadway, or I'm on Broadway, or I've been doing all this. And then the trainers are kind of like, oh, I work at Equinox, or I work at Reebok, and me, I just moved. I had an online certification, but I was hired at Bally's, but I never went to go work because I realized that they wanted me to do floor hours while they make all the money, and I'm hoping to get a client, right? And I'm cleaning up equipment after people. So I didn't go. I never took that job. But that was all I had. I had an online $50 weekend certification that you get online, right? Now imagine me finally on the stage or at the table, so to speak, and yet all I can say is, well, I got a background in martial arts, played basketball, and I'm a certified trainer, but really good at, figuring things out. And everybody's kind of like, okay, all right, well, never mind that. Everybody, let's stand up. We're going to do choreography. Everybody. Now, here I am. I'm like, wait. Okay. Let me get at the back. and her name is Tracy Anderson, by the way. So Tracy Anderson is who I was working for, right? And she's like, she kind of pointed a few of us out, like, guys, don't be shy. You're not gonna be at the back. You need to be up here so you can see what's going on. So let's bring them closer to the front. So I get in the middle. And now, obviously, I'm gonna try to find a couple girls that are cute.
Yeah.
You know? And so, like,
Yeah.
that's a motivation for me, right?
Yeah.
Like, when I used to play basketball, I had my best games when there was like a cute girl at the game. Anyway, so I'm by these girls, and I'm like sweating and dancing, and I'm like, man, what is going on? They got us doing these things that look like ballet, and I'm just like, okay, you know what, Josh? You probably won't get invited back, but what's the worst that can happen? You had a good time, you learned something new. Maybe they ask you to come back. Well, that's exactly what happened. They asked me to come back day after day after day, and finally, after about 2 weeks, I'm kind of like, I said to my manager, well, I think I'm hired, but I don't know because they keep asking me to come back, and they're offering money to come and train. So I needed money back then, and I'm like, well, look, I'll take this little $25 a day to learn how to do choreography for a few hours. Like, yeah, and it was a tough workout too, mind you. Yeah. So I was like, okay, and then next thing you know, I get a note that's like, meet at this address tomorrow, and I'm like, I don't know what this address is, but like, okay, all right, I go.
That's kind of suspect to me.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, keep in mind, it was from the general manager. And okay. He was very he's very quick. He's like, Josh, yes, here, see you tomorrow at 12 noon. Okay, be there at 12 noon. And I was like, okay, cool. Playing it off like I knew exactly what it was, what the deal is. No idea. Right. Fast forward to the next day, I roll up, and it's Madonna's house. Right? So I'm like, okay, wait, so I just got this. I think I'm working. I think I got hired. And now, but wait, Tracy, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, all I did was some basic choreography. So I just was like, listen, Josh, they ask you to be here, and just do what you can. Just be you, right? So I go, and I basically am asked to just hold these bars together, and so I'm holding these ballet bars. So because Madonna's standing on top of them, and I'm in her house like holding these bars so they don't slide out because it's on a dance floor, and it has those like they can slide, right? They're not supposed to, but they can. And so if I let them slide, she goes into a full split and hurts herself, right? We don't want that to happen, obviously. So I'm sitting there holding it. It's my first time meeting her. And it was like, I was in the waiting room, so to speak, and they were like, Josh, yeah, you can come on in. So I go in, and I see all these tools and things hanging from the ceiling that I had never seen before. And I'm like, man, they didn't tell me anything about what this entails, but okay. And so I see Madonna, and she's on the thing, on the ballet bars, holding this big cube. And Tracy was like, hey, Josh, just get down and hold the bars. Don't let them slide. And I'm like, all right. So I just hold the bar. I'm strong. I got the bars. And the thing is sliding, right? And I'm like, uh-oh. So I'm like, hey, hold on one second. So I get down. Now I'm in the most awkward position because she's up above. I'm kind of on the floor, and it's hot in there, right? So it's always hot and steamy. And I just I'm holding the bars, and next thing you know, I feel a drip, drip, drip. I look up. Drip, she's sweating on me, right? So my first time meeting this woman, and she looks down and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, it's all good. It's all good. All good. Right? Because I'm trying to get this job, whatever this job is, right? I'm like, maybe I'm holding bars for the rest of my career. I don't know. But, I do that. And then when it was time to do the dance cardio, because that was like a strength portion, and then they kind of relieved me of my duties. Josh, you can go back into the waiting room because now the dancers are going to dance, if that makes sense. So Madonna and Tracy are going to dance. Keep in mind, I'm not the dancer. So when I saw that, though, I felt that. I kind of was like, okay, if I want to be at the table, if I want to be in control over my destiny within this space, maybe I should use my time wisely and start learning this choreography, because I could overhear them kind of being like, yeah, well, we would invite him in here, but he's not really a dancer, so he doesn't really know it. So what do you think I did the next few days?
You learned that damn choreography. That's what you did. That's right. That's what
I
you
learned
did.
that choreography like this, so that I remember it was one day. I think I was prepared because it was hot that first time. I had on full clothes. I didn't realize like, okay, maybe I should have a tank top on underneath and shorts and be ready, right? So the next day I go in, I'm cool, got it. Holding the bars better than ever. I'm a good bar holder now, right? And then when it was time to do the choreography, they always would be like, okay, Josh, you can go ahead and go out. I was like, is it cool if I stay today? Can I stay and maybe kind of watch what's going on? And I could kind of hear them. They're like, yeah, sure. Everybody went to go get some drinks, and then I could hear them talking like, yeah, watch this. This is, it's kind of funny.
It's gonna be funny, yeah.
I smashed it. I smashed all the choreography, right?
Yes,
Smashed it. And then when it was time to leave, I mean, I'm hitting all the moves, sweating crazy. It was all good. And then I remember, so I leave out of the room, and I could overhear them talking, and she was just like, he's actually pretty good. It wasn't that bad, And then Tracy was like, I don't know where that came from because, like, yeah, he did a pretty good job. And then that's what eventually got me the gig. She ended up deciding, like, hey, maybe I can leverage working with this guy. And Tracy, like, she had so many other things going on that she also needed that little bit of relief to be able to kind of go and do her own things. So I was the one taking the trips to Africa, taking the trips to Florida, taking the trips that Tracy wasn't able to take. And then eventually I get the gig, and the rest is history from there. So that is a long story, and there's a lot more to it, I'm sure but that is what changed the trajectory for me. That's what enabled me to kind of start opening doors and realizing for myself that I have the ability to do whatever it is, because I never thought I was going to be dancing. I danced on stage at the Super Bowl with Madonna. I was in a music video in Paris, in Milan. One of her music videos. Like, I'm in that thing, right? Like, and these are things that would have never occurred had I not decided to go, you know what? Let me not hang my head down because they're telling me to go sit in the other room. How about you demand that you be there, right? They cannot deny you, and that's kind of what you did, and I think that's special.
You know what? You almost made me come out this wig. I'm like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's right. No, because I remember our like chats. Like, we were always saying to each other, like, we gotta keep doing this. We gotta grind. Yeah. And to hear that, first of all, that is an amazing, amazing opportunity. And clearly, it has taken you all around the world. I've been watching. Takes you all around the world. And now I see, you're even doing, you have this branch of your business where you're doing the science of fitness.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these new gadgets and all these new things, and you test them for these big companies, and you like I'm paying attention, and I'm just like, wow, like, because you became a rock star. And like, it was so crazy. There was another young man. I follow him on social media. His name is Germany.
That's my boy.
Yeah, well, he was close to you too. See, I remember the guys from that time, and that was the thing. We was all trying to do something, child. We was all trying to do something. Like, what your story, it just motivates me so much because those are the ones where it's like you just go so far and above and beyond what people expect. But like you said, it's because you will not be told no at the table. At the table. You're like, look, I'm going to get in where I fit in. And I like it because they weren't trying to bind you to a contract, own your recorded voice. You could do those things. Me, I had to go home. I basically had to go home. I literally had to come home, and my grandmother helped me build what I have now. But literally, I like the fact that you were because oh my God, you've been gone from the States for a while. Like, I saw just before the election, you were saying, like, I just flew into New York, and I said, he's come home to vote. Like, I knew that's what it was. I was like, and he's going to be gone again. And it's, like, and that's so funny because what people need to understand, if they don't take anything away from this, it is that when you push yourself beyond your normal limits, like you said, you came to New York for a couple of months. You are now in your 20th year. That, when I tell you, you made me want to run around this place because I'm like, yeah, like, you, like, and get it. I mentioned people, so many other people had to give up.
Yeah.
Had to
Yep.
give up. And you know what's so crazy? It makes me a little teary-eyed because when I saw your face on Model Mayhem, I always used to say that to you, and you'd be
I
like, "For
remember.
real?" I would be like, there's something special about you. There's something special about you. And I saw that then. I knew it. And we didn't even get to talk
I
about where
know.
you went because our lives just kind of, we had to go with the currents. Like it just, to be able to come back together and I don't get to do this with many of the guys because literally a lot of the guys that I knew now, they have vanished. They have
Mm,
vanished. Literally, can't find them. Diligently considering their place, can't find them. Can't find
wow.
them at all. And I'm and literally, we became like a family back then. We didn't all know each other, but we used the same photographers. We saw the same agencies. Like I remember because when I met Joseph Blue, he died. He
I
died.
know.
He
I
died.
know.
That was hard for me because Joseph, his photography was the one that revolutionized my career. Like he
I
literally,
worked with him because of you.
I remember.
Yeah.
But I was just getting ready to say because when I went to Fusion Model Management with my buddy Javon, he took me to one of his castings, and they saw us both and was like, okay, he was real muscular, I was real thin. He was like, they said Paris. They immediately said it, Paris, and they were like,
Mm,
well, you need to go take these pictures. So they gave us both the photographer's card. But the thing was, both him and I had to go home and work our jobs to be able to afford the photographer. So
yep.
literally, we went home, did our work, and then got the photographer. And get it, he literally, like, I used him, what was that, 2013? Because I used to go to him regularly to get pictures done. He would give me a discount because I would call all of you guys and be like, I found a new fashion photographer. He's good with black kids. Get over there. Like
You definitely
literally,
did.
that was what I did. So many of the boys went and shot with him. And
Yep.
get this, because that you guys did that, he gave me discounts.
Good.
He
As you
gave me
should.
discounts because he was like, you keep bringing models my way.
Good.
But get this, he did even more. Josh, like when I went to him and I was doing my cover and I was uncertain about the cover, so I enlisted another photographer. But it turned out that Joseph's pictures were the ones. Like they were the ones. Like I totally, the other one is a famous photographer. I buried the photos. Like you'll just never see them. Like it just,
Mm,
no one will. Like Joseph's pictures were the ones that needed to be done. But I was worried because it was my debut single. So I was like, oh, it needs to be right. Because it's me doing it by myself. It needs to be right. But Joseph never let me down. So what happened was he did more than that. He turned around and he took all those pictures of me over the years. I still have them. Before he died, he signed the copyrights over to me. He gave me ownership of my photos.
really?
Yes.
So he was sick. He knew. He knew. Oh wow.
Him and he used to say to me, oh God, it made me a little emotional there, but it's a good emotion because he doesn't have to stress anymore or worry about that cancer. But literally, he used to, when we would walk down the street, I'll never forget the first critique he gave me when I first shot with him. He said, you need to work out. You need to get a body. I did that. So then when I came back, he was like, he used to walk down. He said, "You so extra." Like he used to love to play with me. But he said this to me. He was like, you may not believe it because of where you come from. He said, but baby, you're meant to do this. He used to say, you're old money. He used to make fun of me. We used to walk down the street. He would stop while he was taking pictures of me, and he would say his family's home has been in his lineage for 8 generations. And he used to really do that to me. He actually helped to put the royalty in my head. Today, I am the
Mm,
trademarked queen of shade. I own that trademark. But literally, he helped to put that in my head. Your royalty, your royalty. You should always act like royalty. You should carry yourself like royalty. You should never back down. You should demand what you need. He put that in me. And to lose him was such a big thing. And then I go to Paris and I meet Ernest Collins, who was one of the top. He was literally, the first one was Caucasian, of course, in Paris. He was the second highest paid photographer in Paris. And he shot me for free. I
Wow.
sat down with him and get it, just as I talked to you guys, just as I shared what was happening in my life, when I shared that nasty letter, I was telling you guys what was really going on. I started talking to him and he said, come back tomorrow with a t-shirt and jeans. I was like, I can't afford you. And I didn't have a working visa for Paris. So I was like, I can't do this. He was like, I have to shoot you. He said, because you need to be in my book because one day you're going to be famous. He said, and I don't want to not have you in my book. That's what he
Wow.
died in Chicago. He returned to Chicago maybe 2 years ago, died of a cardiac arrest. But yeah, the two, like you want to talk about scared, the two photographers who shaped my career are gone.
Wow.
I do not work with anyone. I take all my photos myself. Because I do not, because the thing is, I used to scream about that then. You know, you take these photos and yeah, you're getting these photos, but you don't own them. Like I had several of my guys have billboards in Times Square and the photos have been sold and they weren't getting a dime and they're walking by like, that's my face. But because they
Wow.
signed a release or because it, whatever, like they didn't own the photo, the negative. So it didn't pan out for them. They literally had billboards and didn't get any money. And I was like, no. And that's the thing, like, seeing the ugly side of our industry caused me to really be the way that I am now. It caused me to be, and honestly, it's been tough building my own business, but the successes outweigh. Oh my God. I like when I talk about intellectual property and what I own, like my social media is not even monetized. I will not, because I read in their clause that it said if you monetize with them, they want to own your content. No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
Mm.
I lent it to them because with my content, I've spent the last 10 years as the Queen of Shade. I do these 60-second monologues. Well, now they're 3 minutes long. I do these, and I mean, I've been viral in 2018 on Instagram alone, one platform. I reached 21 million likes. They gave me my blue check. I was a nobody. They gave me my blue check, said, you are a celebrity, a public figure. You are someone of importance. Literally, that all happened for me. And literally, I have kept at least 1 million eyeballs, 1 million views on my Instagram platform every month for the last 10 years.
Wow.
It has never
That deserves that long applause.
yeah, it has never get it. It has never gone down. And get this, they keep shadow banning me.
Oh, it happens. It
I
happens to me too.
Yeah, but it's because I showcase us. I'm
Yep.
like, because even okay, see, it's so great to have you here because you can tell them, like, I've always been about us getting ahead. There's not enough black male presence in these businesses. And now we're finding out about all the shit that goes on behind the scenes that you don't want to be a part of, that many of us was like, we was skirting around it. We bit back
Oh
then.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Back
Oh yeah.
then, we were skirting around it. We were like, no, 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 no. Like, yeah, like my mama didn't raise me like that. Like,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
like we were skirting it around. We were talking about it, but we were
Yep.
skirting around it. No, don't go see that person by yourself. Like, no, like
Facts.
it's something, but literally you were there and to see your life, it just proved to me, like, it makes me excited because I knew what I saw. I knew what I saw in you. I knew it. And here you are. You've outlasted most of our counterparts. Photographers that we shot with together, no longer here. And
Yeah.
you're still here. And God, by God's grace, I'm still here. It's so uncanny. It's just so uncanny. Like, it's just, no, because I look for people. Because now I'm this queen. I can do things now. And, I'm looking at them like, wow. Like, all the guys that I represent and I show now and I showcase, they're all new. They're all new. I have a couple, but they're from other countries that were there in the 03s, 04s, 05s. But everybody else is new. But I yearn for you guys. It's like you guys, you guys running around doing your thing, but we need to keep in touch because we were the original mob squad. Like we were
That's
the
right. Yeah.
original mob squad. We're talking the early 2000s. Like that was us. And to see that You're still doing it. I'm
Hmm.
still doing it. Here we are.
It's a true blessing, and I hope this serves as a reminder
Yeah.
to anyone watching that, again, I've said this probably 12 times already, but it's possible as long as you think it is,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Our
beautiful.
hour flew by.
It
It
did, didn't
flew
it?
by. It was, let me just say, it was such an honor to catch up with you because,
Likewise.
like, you know, you see a person and you see something in them and you know that they got to face the world and you pray that they're going to be okay.
Mm.
And you're okay. So am I.
Yeah, you are.
It's like more than okay.
That's what I was gonna say, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
more than okay.
More than okay. So get this. Season one, I did give me 3 words that empower and inspire you. Well, season two is different. We are doing, I'm doing make a wish, say it out loud so that it's recorded, so that it returns to you. If you could wish for something in your life, no matter what it is, what would you wish for today?
Hmm. I wish that we all can be more empowered
Yeah.
and to have full autonomy and agency over our health and wellness.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what you do. I watch
Yeah.
you travel the world helping people to feel better, look better, live better. You know, I watch you on your runs. I watch you with the science of it all, the different
Hmm.
suits and, you know, all the science. And you know, I don't want to, I would be remiss if I didn't say this before we ended, but you're a biohacker.
Yeah, yeah. For
Biohacker.
those who don't know
Yes.
what that means, is basically I'm someone that I guess you could call it like a modern day guinea pig, but basically we're all biohackers at the end of the day. I like to just find this balance between sort of ancestral wisdom, things that maybe we would have done, our ancestors would do, and we carry that on. And then I like to pair that with this modern technology because this is the world we live in today. And when we can find that balance, then I feel like the world is our oyster.
It
Yeah.
was such an honor to catch up.
Thank you.
It was
Thank you.
fun. I'll be in touch with you. I sent
Of
mine.
course.
I set my number. You'll be flying around because this thing for me is about to get even bigger. I can't even talk about it. It's
I feel it.
time. It's been 21 years that I've been in this industry. It's time, and it's fine. I'm finally about to get what I deserve. But I had to work for it, and that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, some people get it all at once. I got it at last. You know, so
Ooh.
yeah, I got
At
it at last.
last. Hit him
Yeah,
with that.
I got it at last. But I'm gonna let you go. Hold on, don't go away. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the vocal stylings of Mr. Joshua J Holland. There it is.
There it is.
Don't go away. So did you enjoy? Was the conversation everything you thought it would be? It was for me. I love catching up with my friends. It was absolutely amazing. So if you thought it was amazing, please continue to watch, comment, like, and share. And most of all, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I love you, and I do this for you. Good, wholesome content about self-love, self-confidence, and self-healing. The Queen of Shade loves you all. Remember my name, the Queen of Shade. Mwah.
You could have more of me, but I'm questioning your loyalty. But you know my love is never free. Little boy, come get your daddy, please. And I wish you could have more of me, but I'm questioning your loyalty. But you know my love is never free. Little boy, come get your daddy, please. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. I'm gonna get you, boy. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. I'm gonna get you, boy. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
Please subscribe to the Queen of Shades YouTube today for over 1,000 original videos created by the Queen herself. Subscribe today.
Turn that TV down.